Hey, welcome back to International Dispute Management. Today we have a special guest, Mateo, and he's going to talk about a little bit what the office that he's running for. So, Mateo, if you'd like to introduce yourself, right ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Larry. So my name is Mateo Sanabria. I have lived up here in Forsyth County for my whole life. So I've been here in Georgia for about 23 years, as long as I've been alive, and I'm working to just better the crisis that we're having here. I think that for too long, Georgia has been primarily focused on making itself better for large corporations and businesses and has not had enough of a focus on the actual individual citizens.
Yeah, so you're running for House District 28. That's State House, correct?
Yes, that's State
Can
House, so
you
local to Georgia.
tell me a little bit about some of the issues in your area that the State House would address?
I think some of the primary issues in my area that the State House would address would be the way that we fund education. I want to make sure that schools have kind of proper pathways in order to actually signing kids up to be a part of apprenticeship programs and kind of just making sure that they have more options and that schooling actually leads to a job. And so I think that the State House could really work together with a lot of companies, with a lot of smaller businesses, and kind of build pathways in education and build incentives into schools and funding into schools to actually allow kids to work with companies and kind of start onto that pathway and not just be scrambling to find a job afterwards. Otherwise, I think one of our major issues here in Forsyth County, we're actually dealing with serious traffic problems. Um, I think the number one issue, I think like 43% of respondents to the Forsyth County News poll, something around there, responded that it was like their number one issue. So I think that the main ways that we could address that are, I think that we could do with maybe some subsidies to either a public transport solution, so improving kind of bus routes, or just building in some more funding for different road projects that are more conducive to that. But I think the main solution to that is going to end up being public transport, because without that, you can't pack more people into one car. You need a bus.
Yeah, just kind of a thought that just came to me. They're talking about expanding MARTA up into Forsyth County. I mean, what's your position on that?
See, personally, I actually rode the MARTA for my entire college career. I went to college at Georgia State University. Um, I don't believe that the MARTA necessarily bringing the rail line all the way to Forsyth County is going to be something that the residents resonate with. I personally believe that the MARTA has been incredibly essential to me, like not having to find parking in Atlanta. And I think people will love that part of it, but I don't think people love the other parts that kind of deal with MARTA. So maybe rather than having a MARTA solution, I think that it would be best if we subsidize kind of individual counties and allow them to build out a transit solution that works for them, kind of like CobLink. It kind of links into MARTA, but it isn't a part of MARTA. That way, it doesn't come with any of the negative rap that currently comes with MARTA, and we can kind of build it out to make sure it functions well for the citizens in Forsyth.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good to know. What are overall, so if you had to put this up in just bullet points, what are your objectives? You talked about transportation, education. What else would you be looking at?
So I think affordability. Affordability is the biggest issue. I think you'll ask anyone in the United States right now, and they'll be telling you that they can't afford to do virtually anything. I think young people in particular are vulnerable to this. We're never going to get into the housing market. I've talked about that ostensibly. It's just an incredibly poor situation for everyone involved. I want to kind of take I want to take all of the private homes out of the hands of these massive corporations that just kind of build up giant neighborhoods and don't allow options for younger people to actually get into the housing market. I want to make sure that younger people are able to get into the housing market. And then also, on the subject of affordability, I want to talk about Medicaid and Medicaid expansion because expanding Medicaid does not only make medicine cheaper for those on the program, it actually makes medicine cheaper for everyone. because when you have Medicaid subsidies and people are able to afford good medicine, it keeps hospitals' lights on and it keeps them going, which means that for everyone else who goes to that hospital, well, first of all, there's a hospital nearby because a lot of these rural hospitals survive because of Medicaid. If you live in a rural area and you don't have access to an easy to access hospital, well, you end up doomed if we cut Medicaid, if we don't support the expansion of it. On top of that, I would mainly say that your insurance premiums would be going up if we don't have Medicaid because Medicaid allows like younger people kind of access to a lot of to a lot of care, and they're not going to like pay for medical care if they don't have any assistance. If they don't pay for it, they're the ones subsidizing Medicare for us here in Georgia, right? If we don't have young people paying into the system, it can't pay for the people who are actually higher risk. So young people end up completely out of the medical care system. It makes older people have to pay significantly more for their care because th there's just nothing taking up like kind of buffering for us.
Yeah, well, they afford what they call Obamacare, the
Mhm.
Affordability Act, Affordable Health Care Act, essentially established that when you get sick and you can't afford it, where you end up the ER, you go to
Mhm.
the ER. So it overloads the hospital. So hospitals
Mhm.
pay the burden. So that's very good point. So if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to contact you? What's your website? And do you have like a phone number they can call? Or what's the
Yeah,
easiest way
so
to get a hold of you?
the best way to get a hold of me, I really prefer reading things. I'm perfectly happy to schedule meetings and calls after getting an email, but email is going to be the best way to reach me. I'm available at Mateo at sanabriaforgeorgia.com. Uh, Sanabria, you can see spelled right there. um, but Mateo at sanabriaforgeorgia.com, spelled just like that.
Okay, well, if you have any comments, please put them below in the comment section, and I will forward any of your comments on to Mateo. And thank you for your time, and please subscribe and like if you like the content that you had today.